Imagine waking up tomorrow to the strangest news in human history. Scientists announce that something impossible has happened overnight. From this day forward, every single lie will cost exactly 1 year of the liar's life. No one understands why. There is no virus, no magic, and no scientific explanation. At first, almost everyone laughs. It has to be another internet hoax. Television hosts joke about it. Social media fills with memes. Politicians deny it. But only a few hours later, the first videos begin appearing online. A man tells a simple lie to avoid being late for work. The moment the words leave his mouth, his hair turns gray. Deep wrinkles appear across his face. His body suddenly looks 1 year older. Doctors examine him. The results are impossible. He hasn't become sick. He hasn't been poisoned. He has simply lost 1 year of his life. Within hours, millions of people begin asking themselves the same terrifying question. How many years have I already wasted telling lies? The next morning, everything changed. No one wanted to become older. For the first time in history, people thought carefully before speaking. Conversations became slower. Silence became more common than small talk. Children stopped making excuses. Students admitted they hadn't done their homework. Employees confessed their mistakes before anyone could ask. Politicians canceled speeches they couldn't prove were true. Companies quietly removed exaggerated advertisements. Even television commercials began sounding strangely honest. At first, the world seemed better. Scams almost disappeared overnight. Corruption began collapsing. Courtrooms filled with confessions instead of arguments. Trust between strangers started to grow. People realized how much of everyday life had been built on tiny lies. But something else was happening. Many conversations ended before they even began. People became afraid to comfort others, afraid to make promises, afraid to say, everything will be okay. Because what if it wasn't true? For the first time, humanity discovered that honesty wasn't just difficult. Sometimes it was painful. At first, people believed honesty would create a perfect world. Instead, it revealed a side of humanity no one wanted to see. Without lies, people could no longer hide their true thoughts. A husband admitted he had stopped loving his wife years ago. A best friend confessed he had always been jealous. An employee told his boss he hated his job. Customers openly criticized restaurants. Children admitted they had favorite parents. Teachers confessed they no longer enjoyed teaching. The truth spread through society like a storm. Relationships that had lasted decades ended in a single conversation. Businesses collapsed after honest reviews exposed years of false promises. Even simple compliments disappeared. People stopped saying, "You look great today," unless they truly believed it. The world became more honest, but also colder. People began avoiding conversations altogether, not because they wanted to lie, but because they feared the truth. Humanity had always believed lies were the greatest danger. Now they were discovering that the truth could be just as destructive. One evening, Ethan visited his mother. She looked older than he remembered, much older. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured him a cup of tea. For the first time, he noticed the deep wrinkles on her face, the gray hair, the tired eyes. He smiled and asked, "Mom, are you okay?" She smiled back, "I'm fine." The moment the words left her mouth, she aged another year. Ethan froze. His mother had just lied. She wasn't fine. Tears filled her eyes. She quietly admitted the truth. When Ethan was a child, she often skipped meals. She always told him, "I'm not hungry." That was a lie. When money was tight, she smiled and said, "Everything is going to be okay." Another lie. When she was sick, she whispered, "Don't worry about me." Another year, another year, another year. Suddenly, Ethan understood. The deepest wrinkles on his mother's face hadn't been caused by time. They had been paid for with love. It didn't take long for someone to find a loophole. If every lie cost 1 year of life, then years could become a currency. At first, it happened in secret. A wealthy businessman offered a stranger a fortune to tell a single lie in his place. The stranger accepted. One sentence, 1 year gone. The businessman kept his youth. The stranger walked away older, but richer than he had ever imagined. Within months, an underground market appeared. The rich no longer sacrificed their own years, they paid others to do it. Students struggling with debt, single parents, the unemployed. Anyone desperate enough to trade time for money. A single lie could buy a car. 10 lies could buy a house. Some people sold decades of their lives before they turned 30. Governments tried to stop it, but desperation always found a buyer. Soon, the gap between rich and poor became greater than ever before, because wealth could now purchase time itself. One rainy afternoon, a young girl was admitted to the hospital. She had been fighting a rare illness for years. The doctors had tried everything, but now there was nothing left they could do. Only one doctor knew the truth. He quietly entered her room. The little girl smiled. "Doctor, I'm going to get better, right?" He looked at her parents. Neither of them could speak. He looked back at the child. She wasn't asking for statistics. She wasn't asking for probabilities. She was asking for hope. The doctor closed his eyes for a moment. He knew exactly what would happen next. Then he smiled gently. "Yes, you're going to be okay." The girl smiled with relief. Her parents began to cry. At that very moment, the doctor's hair turned slightly gray. A few new wrinkles appeared on his face. He had just lost 1 year of his life, not for money, not for power, not to protect himself, but to give a frightened little girl one final moment of peace. And for the first time, no one in the room believed he had made the wrong choice. The doctor's sacrifice spread across the world. Someone had recorded the moment. Within hours, millions had watched it. For the first time, people weren't arguing about whether he had lied. They were asking something much deeper. Was that year really lost? Stories began appearing everywhere. A firefighter lied to a frightened child trapped inside a burning building. "We're going to make it out together." He lost a year. A soldier smiled before leaving for war. "I'll be home soon." Another year disappeared. A grandmother looked at her grandson's drawing and said, "It's beautiful," even though she could barely recognize what it was. Another year. People slowly realized something extraordinary. The world had spent decades treating every lie as equally wrong. But reality wasn't that simple. Some lies were born from greed, some from fear, and some from love. Maybe the true cost of a lie wasn't measured in years. Maybe it was measured by the reason it was told. Years passed. The strange law of life never disappeared. Every lie still cost exactly 1 year. But people had changed. Children grew up understanding that words had consequences. Businesses became more honest. Governments became more transparent. And yet, the world never became perfect, because being human had never been about perfection. One evening, Ethan was walking home when he noticed a frightened little boy sitting alone on a park bench. The child was crying. "I'm lost," he whispered. "Will I ever find my parents?" Ethan looked around. The park was almost empty. No police, no adults, no familiar faces. He didn't know if the parents would ever be found. He couldn't honestly promise everything would be okay. For a moment, he remembered his mother, the doctor, the firefighter, everyone who had chosen compassion over certainty. He smiled gently. "Don't worry, we're going to find them." The little boy smiled through his tears. At that exact moment, a single gray hair appeared on Ethan's head. He quietly accepted it. Because he finally understood. A year of life is expensive, but sometimes giving someone hope is worth every second. So now let me ask you one question. If every lie cost you 1 year of your life, who would you be willing to lie for? If this story made you think, leave a like and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. See you in the next one.